Japanese officials confirmed that radioactive materials have leaked into the atmosphere following a fire at reactor number 4 at the Fukushima power plant. The fire is said to have damaged an area used to store spent nuclear fuel. The situation at all 6 reactors is said to be critical after the only 2 remaining cooling systems failed following the devastating quake and tsunami. Well, the blast at the facility number 2 that occurred this morning has reportedly damaged the vessel of the reactor. It's stoking fears of a nuclear meltdown, which were already high since the reactor explosions began. The company that owns the plant has reportedly withdrawn over 700 workers, leaving only 50 to deal with the disaster. Engineers have been using seawater to cool the reactors in an attempt to avert a nuclear meltdown. RT's Ivor Bennett reports from about 100 kilometers from the station itself.
Is this the same?
The whole country, it seems, is on edge because it seems like we could be on the verge of a nuclear catastrophe now. There have been 2 explosions at the Fukushima power plant today so far, and following that second one, there were really serious fears of a major radiation leak. Now, just as recently, the chief cabinet secretary for Japan has been speaking to the press very frequently, saying that the radiation levels around the plant have been dropping, but following that second explosion, they did peak at 400 times the maximum level that one should be exposed to over the course of a whole year. Now, for widespread radiation contamination and radiation sickness, the levels seem to, the really hyper warning levels seem to be around 1 million, so around half that now. But it does seem like the radiation levels are decreasing. However, the number of foreign news crews that I've spoken to today and the number of expats and foreigners living here simply don't believe what the Japanese government is saying. The general wisdom is that from those who live here and have been doing so for a number of years is that what they're saying is they don't really trust the information they receive. They think they've been reading between the lines, and from what the Prime Minister said in his public address to people, saying that stay indoors, that is a sort of veiled advice to get away if you can, and the number of people leaving Japan is increasing. The exodus seems to have begun, and all the foreign news crews I've spoken to have headed for the exits. I'm actually now a little bit further away from Fukushima. I'm heading towards Niigata on the west coast because I'm with a team from New Zealand who are heading for the airport, but all the flights south to Tokyo and Osaka are actually booked up for the next 2 days, so they're on a waiting list for 2 days, and it seems like all the other airports are full as people try to leave. Now, on the streets of Sendai this morning, you can see the concern because people were queuing up at what shops were still had food left, ready to stockpile because they fear the radiation cloud could soon spread to them. They're just 100 kilometers north of Fukushima, so they're ready to stay indoors for a long period of time if that radiation cloud does spread.
All right, that's Ivor Bennett there reporting. Now, Dr. Robert Jacobs from the Hiroshima Peace Institute says, judging by how the situation is unfolding, it seems the government has little control over this nuclear crisis.
It certainly appears that we're not getting the full story in the sense that every day we're told that the situation is under control and that efforts are succeeding in reducing the risk, but yet every day we see the situation getting further and further out of control. Each day we wake here in Japan to a much more grim situation than the day before, and it's hard to imagine. I think that it's hard to give accurate information. I think it's hard for the government to get accurate information, but I think that there's a growing distress among people in Japan that the information that we're receiving is not informing us to the extent that we would like it to, and that doesn't reduce panic. It just makes people all the more uncertain when they believe they can't trust fully the information they're being given. The situation is very much difficult to control. There's no doubt about it. You have a site there. You've had 4 explosions and significant radioactive releases at the site of the reactors. So you're having extremely high levels of radiation in that local area, making it extremely difficult for people to conduct the kind of work that may be useful. You've had 3 aftershocks over 7.0 on the Richter scale, making it difficult. So in a sense, what you have is you have people trying to repair an automobile damaged, but that's moving at 100 miles an hour without brakes or steering. So the work that might be done, that might be effective, is getting increasingly problematic to perform.